The coalition government will introduce legislation this year that will enable roadside drug testing. Transport Minister Simeon Brown says police will have the power to randomly screen drivers for drugs at the roadside using oral fluid testing devices, similar to drink driving enforcement. With more on this, Simeon Brown is with us. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your time. I know you're a very busy man. We'll make it quick. Can I just quickly go back in a little time warp to 2019, actually,
Yes.
when the previous government announced roadside drug testing would be in place by 2021.
Yes.
Then it was announced again in 2020. And then apparently in August last year, it was all good to go. So what the heck has been the hold-up?
Oh, look, there's been a number of things that have slowed this really important policy down. Firstly, in the first term of the last government, I don't think the Green Party was quite on board with this type of policy, which slowed it down at that point, even though the National Party in opposition at the time was very happy to provide support from across the House. And then when they did eventually put legislation in place, the legislation required the drug tests to be of an evidentiary standard. Rather than a screening standard. And of course, that meant they needed to have 100% accuracy. There's no tests which are 100% accurate. These tests do have a failure rate, a small failure rate. And so because they weren't able to procure a test which had a 100% accuracy rate, the police were unable to actually implement the legislation. And so decisions have been made to basically to change it to align with the Australian model, which is to use these tests as a screening mechanism,
right.
But to protect people from false positives, we will require two tests to be done. If the first one comes up positive, a second test will also be required to reduce that the possibility of false positives, and then those people will be disqualified from driving for 12 hours and be face an infringement. And that test will first have to actually get tested by a laboratory to confirm that it's true, and then they'll face a fine.
Right, got it. So what drugs are going to be tested, Simeon?
Oh, look, a bunch of drugs such as cannabis, meth, cocaine. There's a list, I think, around 25 drugs, which is within the legislation. Effectively, it's a range of common drugs, unfortunately, that people use when they're driving. And of course, we know that drug driving is one of the biggest killers on our roads. Yeah. So effectively, this gives the police another tool, but it also is a deterrent to say to people, well, look, if you are going to take drugs and then get behind a wheel, the police are going to have more tools in their toolbox to come after you and bring the full force of the law against you for undertaking this reckless behaviour.
There has been comment of people getting caught up in this that are on medication, some kind of, if you're on a depression medication, lorazepam, or some say even antidepressants are in there, but even like codeine. What can we do about that?
Well, some prescription medicines or some medicines like morphine or tramadol can be detected by either through the regime. Those drugs can already be get tested through blood tests. I mean, ultimately, drugs and driving, whether it's illegal substances or prescribed medicines where your doctor has said not to drive, both cause significant harm on our roads. And so ultimately, this is about saying, well, if you're going to take illegal drugs and drive, there is going to be consequences, but also if you are taking prescribed drugs, but you're prescribed and but you're not meant to drive, there are some drugs in that category as well.